Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Pebblepimp off of the Finished Grade album titled Ashes of Yesterday. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves the track on the screen on Spotify, and we're going to listen through this from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. And so just before we get into it, I want to mention that we're going to be giving this song an overall score out of 10 at the end based on various musical criteria. But for now, let's go. Let's do it. Art up on the screen. And I think there's also some lyrics as well, which is cool. Really interesting sound design around the sides there. The way things go around the headphones.
Carry rust on my back like a chain. Smoke in my lungs, but it don't kill the pain. Work these hands till the skin turn gray. Still haunted by the ashes of yesterday. Ashes of yesterday.
Fantastic vocal fry as well. Repeaters as well. I mean, the production quality of modern music is really tight, isn't it?
Empty boots on a cold concrete floor. Every scar is a debt I can't ignore. Digging graves for the dreams I betrayed.
Double tracking on those guitars on the side. Parallel majors. Really distinct voice and vocal timbre there. Holding those notes like that with great vocal technique is difficult to get that kind of strain shown, but the expression is authentic and it's fantastic.
Ashes of yesterday, they don't ever fade away. Burn me down, I'll rise the same, but the fire still knows my name.
Oh, great tone to the steel strings at the end, though. That acoustic, sort of grounding it. I'm really impressed. I think this is the first time I've listened through Pebblepimp's music, and we're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. And so welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Pebblepimp, titled Ashes Yesterday, off of the Finished Grade album. Before we go any further, I just want to mention that I gave the song an overall score of 8.2 out of 10, which I feel is a really strong score for a track. It did well across the board there. Really impressed with a lot of the stuff that was going on here. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think that this track was about someone looking over the life, the difficulties that they've had along the journey, and discussing what they carry, the rust on their back, and how if they were burnt down, they'd rise to it, but the flame would be familiar with them. So almost like they're kind of come to acceptance of all the scars and everything they've gone through, kind of at least acknowledging the journey that they've had. and discussing it within this track there, almost like they've been forged from the difficulties of trials and tribulations that they've gone through. It's the ashes of yesterday. They've risen again to continue to move forward, burying their dreams along the way, I suppose. I mean, it's very somber subject matter, but I do feel like there's an audience for it. I think that people will be able to relate to this and get behind it. For that alone, it's very effective, but I also think what really sells it is the way that it was sung. We have this immaculate voicing and expression and texture and timbre to our voice. The way we sort of communicate with the listener is incredibly effective. We're very, adept at hitting the notes that we need to. There is no moment where I listened to it and I thought, why are we doing that? Why are we handling it like this? He sounds like someone that has gone through the struggles that he's discussing in a way where there's enough going on from the sort of lead takes and the additional tracks and the upper register to be able to sort of keep it interesting for listeners who need that, further variation. There are moments where we just hum some melodies or harmonize and things outside of the major or minor triads, which is really refreshing. Some suspendeds, or some fifths. There are some held notes and tails with moments of vibrato, some chromatic bluesy phrasings with the note choices that work well alongside the genre and the subject matter of what we're discussing. And ultimately, there's just a lot to appreciate there, but it's just a really efficient and proficient performance on the microphone there that I think sells the story well. So there's a good connection between those two elements. I think another thing worth mentioning within this track, after the vocals and the story has been told, is the music itself. And primarily, I'd start with the structure. You start with that really sort of somber, kind of solemn, cleanish kind of riff there with some reverb, sort of like delay tails on there. It's almost very kind of ghostly. It immediately sets the precedent of the key that we're in. And you have some vocal takes that come in over top of that eventually, which kind of hint at the kind of singer that we're going to be listening to, which is good without over-explaining things immediately. And there are some sort of, again, some very ghostly lead tails or some violining that goes on top there without wanting to be sort of too present with the alternate leads at that point. And there are some like reverse takes and other sort of like oscillating things going around the stereo field as well. They sort of spin backwards and forwards. The sound design is really intriguing. We explore the full stereo field. We are never in a position where we're trying to leave the listener with less than a really fascinating experience. There are occasional accented kind of like flutters on the guitars as well there that just provide a moment of, oh, why is that? What is that? What's going on? It kind of catches you off guard. And then when it comes in with the full band, the full acoustic drum kit, you have the bass and the distorted rhythm guitars on the sides there, either playing power chords or octave chords with occasional unison bends, I think. It's just so full sounding. It's such a visceral yet expected contrast to what's going on with those guitar takes at the start. And we have some sort of like kind of hip-hop-ish or kind of trappish kind of drums there with the hi-hats, kicks and snares coming in for that secondary verse section with a shorter chorus. And I think it was kind of neat to have that shorter chorus there, because when you half-time it, it's showing that we're not taking the listener's attention for granted. We're trying to offer them more and more. By the time we get to that second chorus, we're aware that the listener's probably going to listen through to the end of the song at that point, so we extend and add further context there, and I just think that's really clever. You're not having the hook line the same both times. And like, given that the song is only 3 minutes 12, it's right within that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot. It's just such an effective sort of self-awareness of what we can get away with in terms of that time span. We're not, again, taking the listener's attention for granted, but we are still trying to provide something to hold on to and not making it too random. And I listened to that kind of instrumental outro with that kind of like writhing guitar line at the end there, kind of calling out for release. It's very kind of like, it's kind of a weirdly beautiful thing. The struggle they're going through, you can hear it from the chord choices and melodies and the other literal words that they're saying there. But to have that alternate lead kind of fade us out at the end there, it's just a kind of like we're trying to soar out of our mire that we're in. And then to finish with the acoustic guitar takes, that dum bum bum. It's such a nice sort of resolution to it. It's almost like after all of the huge sounding elements we had beforehand, we're back to that acoustic guitar. We're back to the drawing board. We're back to our current existence and reality there. I think the fact that the track is so slow makes for a lot of space, and the drums don't overcomplicate it with a mixture of different sort of hi-hat sort of cymbal kick and snare patterns there, whether it is those electronic elements or the acoustic sounding ones. We have crashes and accent notes, and we have some fills there that use the snares and the toms as well. They're nice and lively and add a bit of zest to it. It's very balanced in terms of the post-production, so you don't have massive changes in dynamic range, but like it's enough for the instruments to do different things to provide that variety there. And you have like these natural kind of risers and little kind of lead guitar flutters, as I mentioned before. That act is kind of like builds before the little break, before the ashes of yesterday hook line that leads us into those choruses as well. So we do use space as well. And like the rotary reverb that we have on those kind of cleanish kind of guitar takes there kind of sounds like we're going in loops through our own head. I like that we're not overcomplicating the harmonies there, even if we do have chromatics occasionally outside the diatonic. And also it's just kind of an interesting element, again, having those kind of 16ths kind of hi-hats at the end there with those lead guitars. I didn't mention that there. The kind of smack of that is really satisfying. We do use and fuse and sort of mesh together our electronic and acoustic elements very, very well. The bass guitar, I think, is usually kind of like revolving around those root notes, which I think is just great for a supportive element. We're not overcomplicating it. I think thematically, the minor leaning makes sense considering the subject matter. Again, we do have bluesy note choices with some of the vocal takes, which makes sense considering the subject matter. We do have some parallel majors, I think, for a bit of spice and zest and unpredictability within the composition, but the overall harmonies don't suffer from that. It doesn't confuse the listener. And we do have some interesting tails, just as I mentioned, and adjustments of these kind of main chord progressions and harmonies working through the minor, the Aeolian there, just to sort of kind of like link between parts in a way that isn't too predictable each time. But it does kind of have a similar sort of feel with the bass lines and chord progressions a lot of the time. We have a reliable pattern there that has adjustment, but that is kind of allows you to focus more on the alternate lead elements around the things surrounding the stereo field. Like basically what is being told, and it allows you to absorb it, even though the story itself isn't. You know, you can take everything in. It's just the studio production, I think, is incredibly well done. And it probably seems like I'm glazing for a lot of this. It's just simply very well produced and written music. The sound of the guitars, the various guitar takes, tones and textures, bass and drums, the vocals, everything is well leveled within the mix from like a little volume perspective, but also in terms of there being no weird resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum there. Music surrounds you in the headphones. There's often movement from left to right going between. It swirls around. There's the individual effects are really interesting, like the rotary reverb on the guitars as well as the reverb delay parts on certain vocal parts. And it's just, we use our acoustic and digital elements really neatly as well, like with the drums, for example. There's nothing which seems alien or uncomfortable. It's a smooth ride, despite the heaviness of it. It's nicely glued. You know, the compression is tight, but not too much. It's nice and low without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting is handled. And effectively, I just think it's it's a great time listening through their music, because thank you for watching my review of this track from an act named Pebblepimp titled Ashes of Yesterday off of the finished great album. I'd highly recommend listening through the rest of this album if you enjoyed this track. And if you did, please do go show them some love via the various social medias and a Spotify page. Stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SB Reacts. Spiderhands out.